So tonight, can I take you guys on a bit of a journey with me, like I like to do when Ian gives me an opportunity to speak, and just share with you kind of where God's been speaking to me and where He's been taking me in this quest to find myself and find where I fit. And to be honest, the only place that you can find that is in the house. This is still very much my house. I've been away for nearly 5 years, but this is where I'm from. And I just wanted to encourage you to wait in the house. And Garth kind of stole my verse this morning in his offering message a little bit when he was talking about King David preparing the way for the temple. So 1 Chronicles 22 verse 5 says, David said, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord should be of great magnificence and fame and splendor in the sight of all the nations. Therefore, I will make preparations for it." So David made extensive preparations before his death. See, the amazing thing about this verse is David already knew he was never going to see the fulfillment of that promise. David already knew he wasn't going to get to build the temple. But David did everything he could in his latter days to prepare to build the house, to create something that was attractive to the world around him. And I just want to ask us the question, are we prepared to serve not knowing whether or not we'll see the fulfillment of a promise? Are we prepared to step out into something a little bit nerve-wracking and a little bit scary and not really knowing whether or not there's going to be a personal benefit for us, but to serve the vision of the house and to serve the call of God on our lives? 1 Peter 4 verse 10 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." So my main serving role in Equippers at the moment is with the Revolution Tour. And if you don't know what the Revolution Tour is, probably currently New Zealand's largest high schools tour. Last year I think we did over 220 schools programs covering off about 170 different schools from Dunedin right through to Auckland. We made the crazy decision this year that we were going to do 2 tours, one nationwide over 2 weeks, and then we were going to hit Auckland on its own because a quarter of the population lives there. So for me, I was like, oh yeah, cool, this will be awesome. And the May tour was amazing. I look after LZ7, hang out a bit with Reggie Dabbs, but I also cover off all the logistics for behind the scenes. And I'm now officially the logistics manager. Yay! So that's a bit crazy heading into the next season. But coming into the Auckland Revolution Tour, God had to do something in me. There's a verse which I'll tie back in a little bit later on, but I just want to throw it out there. And I think it's also a significant verse for this church at the moment because we're coming into a time of harvest. And it's in John 4, verse 35 through 38. "Lift up your eyes and see the fields are ripe for harvest. Already the one who reaps is receiving wages and gathering fruit for eternal life, so that the sower and reaper may rejoice together. For here the saying holds true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you did not labour. Others have laboured and you have entered into their harvest." So going into Auckland Revolution Tour, obviously I'd already taken 2 weeks off work to do May Revolution Tour. I just started a new job and everything was a bit crazy and I was about to take another week off. And I'm looking on our Google Docs and checking the school's bookings, and the week before Revolution Tour, for the 8 teams that we had on the road, we had 20 school bookings. So my team had all of 2 bookings across 5 days. And I'm going, God, why? Why am I taking a week off work to do 2 schools and to look after these guys when they come over? I was having a bit of an identity crisis. I felt like I was always second best. And my main role on tour isn't up front. It's very unseen. My role on tour is to release other people to give the best that they can give. So my role is to go and get coffees, to know the coffee order off by heart, to make sure that people have eaten, to make sure that people have water, to make sure that people have towels. If anyone's having a wee breakdown, I go give them a hug, lift them up, carry on. it's very much a behind-the-scenes, unseen role, apart from the last song where I storm the stage because it's my moment. And so it was a season of tempering for me. I was reading the book Girls with Swords by Lisa Bevere, and this statement that she made, soldiers are trained but warriors are tempered, really stood out to me because tempering is part of my DNA if I'm a warrior. It was also a season of really understanding tempering because I'd just started a new job where every day I was tempering metal so that I could use it, and having to come to the understanding that for a bigger shaft I had to apply more heat for longer to be able to do what needed to be done, to be able to machine it. And if I took it out of the heat too soon, it just made the machining process more painful and uglier, and things didn't turn out the way they should. So I knew that God was talking to me about tempering, but I just hated it. I don't want to be tempered. I didn't want God to highlight things in my life that I needed to deal with. But I also knew that God had called me to serve in a particular capacity for that tour, and that I was the only person that could do that particular role. So, like any good Christian girl, I decided to cut God a deal. Because I needed a promise to hold on to. I needed to know that there was a reason to lay down my life, to lay down my dreams, to lay down my career, to go and serve, and to not be seen. Because serving isn't about being seen, and I understand that, and it's probably been the journey of my life, serving behind the scenes. But at the same time, there can come a weariness with it, and I know that the word says don't become weary in doing good, for at the right time you'll reap a harvest. But I was just going, God, 3 years ago I laid down a position of significance in the governing body of motorsport in New Zealand to do an internship, to follow your call on my life. Now things are just coming back into order, but at that time you said to me, if you lay everything down for me and you step back from motorsport and give it to me, I'll give it back to you, but I'll take care of your friends. Because my heart's always been to see my friends come into connection with God. So I was like, okay, God, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to serve because I believe that you've given me a scripture to hold on to say that this tour is going to be successful and we're going to see salvation. But God, I'm not about the numbers this time. I don't care. I care about the 1,000 people getting saved, but I care about the one more. And I need you to do something significant for my life. So I had a friend from motorsport who I've known for about 7 years and is he's like my brother. And in February we've been talking about Revolution Tour, and he's like, I'm going to come, I love Reggie Dabbs, I'm going to come. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Get round to May, we're not doing any night rallies in Auckland. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be September. So the weekend before Revolution Tour, go around, help him put in a gearbox just to catch up. Put in a gearbox straight after I'd got a manicure, so obviously God was working in the situation. And we're talking, and he's like, yeah, I'm totally there, I'm coming. So Tuesday night we're on the North Shore, and I text him, I'm like, are you coming? And he's like, oh, I got night school. I was like, no, God, you said. And I was angry at God, and I'm like, I'm serving my heart out, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'm giving everything I've got, and God, my friends aren't coming. And then Wednesday night we're in Manukau, which is like the opposite end of the spectrum, and I get a text saying, guess who's here? And I'm like, what? I'm in Manukau, you live on the North Shore. So anyway, they came, he brought his girlfriend, which is awesome because they're just cool people. And so I was hanging out with them a little bit, and then running backstage and doing my thing, and then hanging out with them and all over the place. And the altar call comes, and I'm like, I'm not going to stand with you because that's awkward, but I just need to be in a position to see. And I see him not respond. And I'm like, God, why? I'm giving everything I've got. And earlier in the night he'd said, oh, it'd be cool if we could meet Reggie. And I was like, yeah, you can probably do that at the end of the night. And he turns to me before the last song and he goes, oh, we're just going to go now. And I'm like, no, you can't just go. So I said, oh, did you want to meet Reggie? And he's like, oh, it'd be cool. I'm like, okay. And Reggie's just come off stage. It's been a tough night. The kids were brats. And I know that he's in the green room just taking some time out for himself before he comes back out to see everyone. And I'm like, okay, just come with me. Go backstage. As soon as I get backstage, the tour manager looks up and they're like, what do you need? I'm like, I need Reggie. And they're like, he's in the green room. I'm like, okay. So I go to the green room, knock on the door, open the door. Reggie's just like, baby girl, what do you need? And I'm like, I need you to come meet my friend. My friend from racing's here. And he's like, sweet. Where are they? Let's go. Comes out with me and starts talking motorsport straight away. Like, who knew Reggie was a chaplain for a NASCAR team? Not me. But apparently, so now it's like, oh, Lulu, you got to come to America. I'll take you to NASCAR. We'll go through the pits. And my friend's just standing there like, Reggie does motorsport? I'm like, I don't know Reggie does motorsport. So, but we're just having this conversation, and then I'm like, oh, it was cool, but it wasn't an answer to prayer, God. And then my friend Dan turns to Reggie and he goes, hey, Reggie, just two things. One, can we take a photo with you? I'm like, typical. And he's like, and can you pray for us? And I'm just like, but you know, I don't have access to Reggie Dabbs because I'm some amazing speaker or I'm some amazing performer or because of anything that I do outwardly. I have access to go to his green room, knock on the door, and have him walk out, speak the language of my friend straight away because he's watched me serve, because he's watched me just on 3 or 4 hours sleep go, no, what do you need? I'll go get it. I'll sort it out. Oh, there's no sweet towels here. Let me just go to the supermarket and get some. He's watched me serve. And so because I've served his vision, because I've released him, the second I need him, he's there. And he's prepared to pray for my friend, prophesy over my friend. He's then the one that says, oh, you need to come to church on Sunday. Not me. I don't have to push the issue anymore because Reggie will take that space in my life because he's watched me serve. And I think that's like a crazy important thing that we need to understand is that actually service isn't, it looks like it's unseen and it might look like I spent 4 odd years in the creche up the back, week in, week out, looking after babies. They were screaming, wanted their mum, didn't want me. I made Pat Wright serve in creche. Pretty sure nobody's got any excuse to not be serving if Pat Wright's in creche with me. But actually that's created a platform. I'm not where I am today because I've made myself, but I'm where I am today because I've been faithful with the small and God slowly entrusted me with more. I didn't learn to run the logistics for a team of 125 odd people by jumping straight into it. I learned by organising to send our youth to Branded, which is just a 1-2 hour drive up the road, and 20 odd kids in a van and finding somewhere to sleep. But because I learnt that, you just kind of times it by 6 or 7 and then carry on and life's fine. And times it by another 10 locations. But, you know, I just really wanted to encourage you guys tonight that this is a great place to be connected. This is a great place to learn. You've got pastors that will release you to do whatever you need to do. As a 6-year-old girl, they released me to... I was baptised here as a 6-year-old girl, and the cry of my heart as a 6-year-old was the same as the cry of my heart standing here tonight as a 26-year-old, that people would see Jesus in me and want to know him too. And you just need to... yeah. There's a blessing that comes from being connected. There's relationships that are formed by serving that you won't form anywhere else in the church. You won't form those relationships by turning up at 6:15 and leaving at 7:15, not talking to anyone, not being involved in a team. At the moment we've got like this think big thing going on in Auckland, and the big is belong, invest and grow. And you grow by belonging to the house, by being connected, by getting yourself planted in a small group, getting to know other people that can lift you up, getting to know people that can stand with you in struggles. got the news that Nana had passed away on Saturday night last week, and I only came home on Saturday this week. But I knew when I turned up at church on Sunday morning that I had a family. Even though my family were here, I had a family. I could go and find someone and just be like, ugh, and know that I was supported, know that I was loved. I had different houses to go to for dinner every week until I came home. I was supported because I'm part of a family, and that's what this is. This is a family, and family love each other, family serve each other. So in saying all of that, and saying get connected, find somewhere you can serve, I know there's always gaps. That's how I found places of service. I turned up to help out on creche one week, on the roster 2 weeks later, then a couple of years later running the thing. But, you know, there's always a space to serve. There's always somewhere that you can invest in someone else. And I want to encourage the older generation that are here, invest in the young people. I love coming home because on a Sunday morning I go along that back row and see all my grandmas and my granddads in the house that have loved me and supported me. I come walk through the door and see all the people that have invested into me over the last 20 years and know that this is a place of belonging. So I really want to encourage you, if you're older, just make time to introduce yourself to someone you've never met. Be a mum, be a dad, be a grandparent to those people, because you never know what that means. Now, even years down the track, you never know what that will come back to be. But also, find a place to serve, whether it's helping out on cafe, whether it's doing the dishes at the end of the night. I don't even want to think about how many times I've vacuumed that dining room downstairs, especially after youth events, and that's all like messy and crumbs and popcorn. But find somewhere that you can serve, because as soon as you start to serve something, it helps you to love it more. And it helps you get more involved, and you will serve what you love. And saying all of that, I also want to say, don't allow busyness to become significance. Serve from a place of love, but let it be how you love, not who you are. You're already significant. You're chosen. You're loved. And you're also called. God has put the body together, giving greater honour to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. You know, we look at some of our body parts and think that they don't do anything, but if we were missing them, we'd know about it. When I was an apprentice, I dislocated my thumb. For the next 6 months, I learnt how much my thumb actually does, because everything I went to do hurt. And God has a place and a perfect fit for each and every person in this room. There's somewhere that you can serve. And just as a little reminder, when you find that place to serve, do it with excellence. Do it with integrity. Do it knowing His presence walking with you. Do it in a way that's honouring. Do it connected and whānau. Do it expecting to see revival. Do it with generosity. Know how to be prosperous in that, but most of all, have fun.
Isn't she the best? Yeah. Come on, that is so, so good. You know, I look back over the years and I've seen, you know, like my mum, who's now 93, and she just thinks Lou's the bomb, but you just got to understand that, you know, people who just serve, so can I get you guys up, because we're going to finish in a few moments, but, you know, just amazing when you just do that. I was brought up in church, I guess. Both my parents were believers, and one of the things they did was just served in the church. They weren't, you know, kind of upfront people necessarily, and they did what had to be done. And my dad, you know, kind of got up the front, and he was always nervous, and you know, if he had to take communion, and he was okay about that, but that wasn't his best gift. I remember finding some notes that my mum had, and I looked at them and I read them and I went, wow, this is my dad. It's like I'm reading this stuff through. He never went to Bible school. He was a carpenter, blue-collar worker, Foreman was the height of management that he rose to in the building job that he did, but faithful to God. So much so that Fred Miller, who used to live in the city and dead now, but wrote an obituary for my dad and told something that I never even knew, because my father's name was Stuart Douglas Morton Wright. I don't know, it's like everybody called him Doug, but everybody at work called him Duncan. And the reason they did that, there was an evangelist, a Christian, a high-profile evangelist at the time called Duncan Wright, no relation to us. But because of Dad's faithfulness on a building site, because of his communication of the gospel, because he was just naturally nice and just quietly going about serving and honouring people and making sure they were okay, they nicknamed him Duncan. And anytime someone would ring our house and they would say, "Is Duncan there?" we always knew it was one of his building mates. And because they saw that amazing gift of service on his life. And so you grew up in all of that. And I learned to love the house. And I tell you what, it's great being in a house where people just serve each other. And Lou, I want to commend you tonight, because you've not only done those things. I can remember like a million things you've done. I was running through them tonight in my head. I remember seeing people being led to Christ, not in this type of audience, but way back where the stage was then. And just like, you would lead them out, and you'd run that whole thing upstairs, and people, giving people opportunity to give their hearts to Christ, and then serving up in the creche, and serving in youth, and running vans, and suddenly this like 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old who was always older than your years, because you always had that maturity. And I honour you for that tonight. And thank you for coming and just sharing with us, and on this Labour weekend, and sad circumstances as well. And bless your mum and dad. They're amazing people. Felicity, who's in London, serving her heart out. What is it in the water at the Clearwater's place? It's kind of like Clearwater's, I can tell you. And because, these girls just grew up, loved the Lord and served. And I tell you what, there will be a great legacy, and that's phenomenal. Amen? So I want you to put your hands together one more time, and let's just bless Lou. You're a great gal. That's fantastic. Well, we're gonna finish with one song. We're gonna take up our offering tonight. I want you to stand to your feet right now, and we're gonna have cafe in a few moments, and we can hang out a bit longer there, and then someone can vacuum up the popcorn afterwards. Not Lou. She's got a night off. All right. And so that's really, really cool. Come on, let's lift our voices as we finish. And if you've come to give tonight, then let's do that. Some of you have given this morning or whatever that's like. But I find that when we come into an environment like this and worship, as Garth said this morning, said it's just so great to be able to serve, to be able to give, to be able to honour God and all of that. Come on, let's do that right now.